Hi travelers, I'm really excited to bring you this new video. Colleen and I went on an extra special vacation trip to Africa, visiting Uganda for the mountain gorillas and Kenya for our first safari. This trip took a lot of planning and was more than a year in the making. Let's have a look at how it all came together with plenty of highlights and tips included here to get you excited for your adventures in Africa. We made it. We are in Uganda. This is the number 5 boutique hotel in Entebbe, Uganda. Now this will be our home base for a couple of days. We're getting acclimated to the time change, relaxing now that we've got here to Africa. We're going to be going to a camp and we're going to be hiking up to see the gorillas. This has been a big trip we've been planning for well over a year, and it's been on our minds for probably a decade or so. So we're so excited to be here. After that, we'll go on to Kenya, and we'll go to a bush camp there, and we'll do a little bit of a safari. So I'm real excited in this video to bring you along with us. Let's go see what hiking with the gorillas looks like, and then we'll head out on safari, and it looks a little bit like this. Everybody, we are up with the sunrise. This is the view right outside our lodge, and we're very excited today because we are going on our first trek. We're going to head into the forest and look for the golden monkeys. Come. Well, we've got a lot to talk about. We had an amazing time in Uganda. We had 3 nights there, and we've come to our bush camp here on the Masai Mara in Kenya. So we had so much to do there, and we know we've got so much ahead of us here on safari that I decided to make this a 2-part series of our trip in Africa. So I wanted to jump in here and do this part first and tell you about our time in Uganda. We did get to see the gorillas and the monkeys, so that went great. So this is going to be your video to show you a little about the overall process of booking a trip to Africa, booking the gorilla trekking experience, what to expect with all of that, and who we used. And you can see Colleen here, my wife, is joining me. You might have seen her showing up on some of my previous videos on the YouTube channel, but I especially wanted to bring her in to talk about this experience because it's really special to us. We've been planning it for quite a while, thinking about it for even longer, and it was this trip to commemorate a very special birthday for her, a milestone birthday. So we're really excited, and we've been planning this a long time, and we'd like to share some of the information, tips and tricks we've gathered over this time. So Colleen, how was your time in Uganda?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It's a beautiful country filled with really friendly people. And you know what? We got to do exactly what we set out to do, and that was hike with the gorillas and the golden monkeys.
Can you remember like how we've been planning it for over a year and then it finally was time to go. And you know, what do you remember about that process and how we found who we were going to use and things like that?
Yeah, well, trip has a lot of moving parts, right? We knew we wanted to see the monkeys and the gorillas, and we knew we wanted to do a little bit of a safari. So we decided to find a company that packages it all together for us instead of us trying to do it on our own. And we did a lot of research, we did some interviewing, and we ended up settling on a company called Go to Africa. And I'm so glad we did. They've really taken care of everything for us, down to every single detail from driver pickups. Stays at the various lodges and the camps, and it's really been pretty hassle free. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
so
we've
glad
run
we did
into
it.
people who have used them as well on this trip and previous trips, so we felt good about it. Everything's been great so far, their communication, everything. So this whole process started with an idea of the gorilla trekking, and then we've added on the safari as well. But we thought we were going to go to Rwanda because that was the place everyone sort of talked about when we were kept hearing about gorilla trekking. Would see the images online, some of the videos and things like that. So Go to Africa was the one that actually said, well, maybe you want to think about Uganda. Um, they have a little park there. You'll have a more intimate experience. The pricing was good. This whole trip is not cheap by any means, but so we splurged a bit on a lot of things. But they put together the whole thing in a very appealing package, and so that's what we went for. So the whole trip started with our flight overseas to Entebbe, Uganda. So we spent 2 nights there to sort of get acclimated to the time change, rest and recover for that, and get ready for the hiking because we were a little nervous about how long these treks would be, how intense they would be. So we wanted to be fully ready to go there. Can you talk about like the hotel we stayed at there and what that was like?
You bet. So we stayed at a place called the Number Five Boutique Hotel, and it's actually really lovely. The rooms are large, the staff is really friendly, the food is very good. It had a pool and a spa, so we splurged on some massages while we were there, and it wasn't too far from some of the more interesting things in Entebbe.
Yeah, we had a gym there. We were able to use the gym every day. We did take a long walk into town because we wanted to check out the botanical gardens there. They have a couple of species of monkeys there. It's about a 45-minute walk into town. You could easily book a driver to take you there, take you downtown. But we wanted to sort of see what it was like, life on the streets there, and it was an interesting experience walking through town. People were
Absolutely.
surprised we did that, but
And
um,
we were told that if you do book a driver, it's about $10 each way.
the botanical gardens. We hired a guide there to take us around, and we're glad we did. We kind of thought we would go in there and walk around and just get some exercise and see what we see, but we're so glad. You pay about $20 or 20 or $30, whatever you think it's worth. We took a couple hours of his time, and he showed us everything. There was all these animals and plants and birds, and it was really cool. It was a nice way to get introduced to Uganda, a new country for us, and a pretty exciting way to spend the day. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I loved it. And we did visit the botanical gardens, and this guide knew all the trees and all the flowers and knew where the birds would be and where we would find the monkeys. So we really got a great insight into it. He also showed us where Tarzan was filmed.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Way back, the Johnny Weissmuller movie, but from not quite 100 years ago, was filmed there in that preserve now. So that was kind of cool. So after 2 days, that wrapped up our time in Tebe, and we were on a small flight out of that airport again, a small plane flight to go to Kisoro, where we would start the next phase of our adventure and actually do our trekking. Um, let's stop and talk a little bit about packing, prep, vaccines, paperwork you need to enter Uganda, and for that matter, stuff you'll need for going on to Kenya. We talk a little bit about that.
You bet. And I'm going to start by saying this is another spot where having a company that you're working with really helps because they gave a timeline of when we needed to do everything from get visas to get those vaccinations. And you do need vaccinations. So we ended up getting yellow fever, which is required to enter Kenya. We also decided to get typhoid, and we're taking anti-malarial medication as well. And we went to a health clinic, like a mobile health clinic.
Yeah, and they give you a little passport. The yellow fever one is required. There's the only one required, and a couple others are recommended from our doctor at the clinic. Other things, they had good recommendations from that clinic. It's called Passport Health, I believe. They have a network. Um, they give you you can buy the spray or at least get recommendations for spray to put on your clothes to prep your clothes. We'll talk a little bit more about packing. Um, you do want to wear neutral colors so you don't alarm the animals. Most people have seen what safari gear looks like. There are weight restrictions on the small bush planes that you will take from the little airstrips in the countryside. The maximum weight per person was 33 pounds, 15 kilograms. You can buy a second seat on the plane so you can get more weight if you need it, if you've got a lot of camera equipment or something, but we travel really super light. I was surprised we were able to each have a piece of luggage that weighed only about 21 pounds. And I'm going to have a full blog post on my website that I'm going to link in the description box below that goes over all these details, the tips and tricks and packing and things we learned along the way. So I'll leave that link in the description box below and you can check that out. This is mostly going to be an overview of our trip and all the highlights and some of the videos and things like that. So now we're in Kasoro town and we meet our driver after landing at the airstrip. Our driver guide, they call them driver guides. On the ground, Go to Africa is supported uh, by Africa Beyond Borders, company that runs all of the tourism and then helps with the transfers and guides on the ground program for a lot of these sort of activities. So we met Ambrose at the airstrip after we landed, and he picked us up. He took us first to a coffee farm in the mountains in town, so we got to see some of the village and how the people, how coffee is such a big industry in Uganda. So that was fascinating before we went on to our lodge. It's called Mount Gahinga Lodge. It has access directly to the Mgahinga Gorilla National Park, which is where you see the golden monkeys and the gorillas. And their slogan is where the silver meets the gold, the silverback gorillas and the golden monkeys. So it is the smallest national park in Uganda, and it was where we had our 2 days of activities.
So Mount Gahinga Lodge was absolutely beautiful. It has a number of little cabins essentially that are part of the property. It holds only 16 guests at a time. And so it was a really special place. The staff was incredible. We had a wonderful butler,
Butler.
and the food was really really nice. We celebrated my birthday there, and they brought out a cake and they danced and sang, and it felt really really special. And we enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, every day they would get us up, have us pack a lunch, have an early breakfast or whatever, ask if we want a wake up call, pack a lunch for when we were on our trek so we would have something to eat because you never know how long you're going to be out there until you see the animals. Um,
Oh wait, I forgot to mention the a stay there also includes a 15-minute massage
every
every
day.
day.
I was about to mention that. Yeah, that's so that was a great way to de-stress and unwind after you were out all day. It was very exhilarating, and then get your body ready for the next day's activity. So it was a beautiful place, and the first to go see the golden monkeys, it's really close. It's less than a 15-minute drive before you hit the park and the starting point to see the golden monkeys. Um, what did you think about Golden Monkeys Day? That was the surprise thing. We know we went for the gorillas. Go to Africa said, "Hey, you guys are going to want to do the Golden Monkeys trek as well." And we weren't sure what that was, but it sounded exciting.
Yeah, so this one was really interesting. The monkeys they have a family or a pod of monkeys that they move around the park to various areas. So you go in and you never know how long it's going to take before you actually see them. It was a pretty good hike for us. We ended up about 4 miles in is where we saw those golden monkeys, and I would describe it as a moderate hike. It was
Yeah,
a lot of uphill on the way in and a lot of downhill on the way back.
yeah. So it was 8 miles total, and then an hour. You do get an hour to see the animals on these treks. You'll have a ranger take you in and lead the tour, and then a couple assistants are sort of at the front and the back with rifles in case any animals are mainly forest elephants. They don't like because they'll be aggressive and come at you, or the buffalo,
Yes.
right? So you got three people taking care of your group. There's small groups on the hike. You get up there and they're in contact with trackers who are already in the mountains and have found the group of animals for you, and they tell you where you have to come to. You eventually meet up with them. Your ranger guide hands you off to the trackers, and you go with the trackers for an hour. You get an hour with the monkeys on this particular activity that we did, and there were about 80 to 100 monkeys. You spotted the first couple in the tree,
Right.
and we weren't sure if that was as close as we were going to get, but it got better, didn't it?
It sure did. And part of the great thing about having these trackers with you is they will help you actually track the monkeys. So they kind of understand their patterns and their movements. So they help you spot them. And you need to maintain a distance from them. But the monkeys don't recognize that distance. And so they will get up pretty close to you. They were very active. So we did a lot of sort of following them
Yeah, they were
around the
eating,
forest.
and mainly we got into a bamboo stand, and they were really going crazy, stripping the bamboo and eating the
Yeah.
shoots, and that was super, super fun.
It was really fun, and it ended up just being a great day. And I wanted to mention they have porters available, and these are people that at the beginning of your hike they offer their services, and for $20 they will carry your bag and help you over hard areas if hiking is a little bit difficult for you. And so we ended up hiring a porter there.
Yeah. Would you say it was about 20 bucks or
Yeah.
whatever?
Hmm.
Yeah. And if they do a really good job, pay them a little more or whatever, whether you're happy with, but it starts at about 20 bucks. So I, I, I wasn't sure we needed it. We didn't have much to carry, but it was nice to support the local community and the economy. Um, did the same thing on the gorilla trekking day.
Yeah.
And what did you think about the gorilla trekking day? This
Oh,
was her birthday. She got to see the gorillas on her birthday, and it was the big day we've been waiting for a long
yeah,
time.
the anticipation was so high for this one, but it delivered. Unlike the golden monkeys, we actually saw the gorillas pretty quickly into our hike, probably about an hour in. And this is a much smaller group of gorillas. There
It was
are,
10 in this family or whatever they
yeah,
said, and there had been a baby born just 5 days earlier. So we got a glimpse of the mother and a brand newborn baby silverback mountain gorilla.
yeah. And I think that it you don't appreciate until you actually see it up close the size of these animals. These gorillas are enormous.
And again, like you see the first one at the first time, and this one happened to be a monkey over a little bit of or a gorilla over a little bit of the edge of the mountain, and you could see it. And you're not sure what your experience is going to be like, and you think this is pretty cool. Another one was up the hillside a little bit, and we tucked in, and it's kind of hidden, and got a couple good photos. But as we sit there walking around and tracking them, and they start moving, they come right close to you. So it gets better and better as you're sort of there and acclimated to them. It's just incredible the size of them. The experience is everything that we thought it would be is absolutely awesome.
It really was. And, it's so funny because I thought I might have a little bit of fear being up close to these animals, but it was such a beautiful and kind of peaceful experience, I thought.
Now the animals are what brought us here, but learning more about Uganda was also very fascinating and fun, and especially the ways that the communities nearby these areas are sort of integrated or understand how important the gorillas are to their economy. It's a beneficial relationship that didn't always exist until the past 30 or so years. So finding out how they can make a living coming to greet or do dances. We had welcome dancing every time before our treks, and there's people selling crafts. So it's very important to the community, these gorillas and monkeys, and this type of tourism, positive tourism, sustainable tourism that we're seeing.
Right. And we were told by our driver guide, Ambrose, who was terrific, that in fact, the the tourism has become something that supports the economy, and it's actually helped dissuade poachers, which has been
Oh, right.
a real issue for
Yeah, so you have a lot of
decades.
reformed poachers who will come and serve as porters, and they are out. They're advocating also for the tourism. Everyone we met was always the first thing we say is, "You are most welcome to Uganda." They're very warm and very engaging people there. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Never really thought we would come to Uganda,
No.
but we're happy that we had this in our plans, and we'd love to come back. Of course, there's all sorts of other things you can do. There's beautiful scenery, a lot of hiking and things like that. So that was our time there. Now I'm going to wrap up this video with a little gorilla and monkey montage from our time in Uganda. Plus, I've tacked on a few highlights from our safari in Kenya to get you excited for the next episode. See you again soon.